unit that we're working on right now is factor. Is the factor form, of the quadratic function. Okay? So in order to put it in the factored form, we have to learn how to factor. Okay? We're going to have to learn how to factor, and there's different ways to get to that factor depending on what kind of function I have. So yesterday, what we did yesterday, we did something that looks like this. So if you had y equals x minus 1 times x plus 2, what did we do yesterday? We multiplied. What do we call that process? FOIL. And then the term for it was expand, right? So we expanded using FOIL, right? Using the process FOIL, right? To get from this to the standard form, which is, in this case, it's going to be this. Right? So to get from this form to the standard form, we had to expand. Now today, we're going to learn how to go backward. Okay? So we're going to learn how to go from expanded form to this is the factored form. So we're going to learn how to go from the standard form to the factored form, and we call that process factoring. Okay? So it's called factoring or factor. Okay? So, just going to recap something here. So to go from factored, which looks like this, to standard, which look like this, so to go from factor to standard, we expand. And today we're going to learn, so we go from standard to factored, we're going to factor. Okay? We also talked about going from vertex to standard yesterday. Right? We went from vertex to standard, and we also expanded. Okay. You're going to see that a lot in this unit. Okay, you're going to see a lot of going from one to the other, from one form to the other. Okay, so you need to know what you're doing. Are you expanding or are you factoring? Okay. All right. So, as I said, there's different methods to factor. All right. It depends on what kind of trinomial you have or what kind of binomial you have. You're going to have to learn a different method. Okay? So, the first type of factoring, let's write this first. So the opposite of expanding is factoring. And we call it a factor is an expression that can be divided into each term in a polynomial. So, the first thing you're always going to ask yourself, do I have a common factor? Okay? A common factor is a factor that can be divided. You can divide each term by. So this is your trinomial here. Okay? This is called a trinomial. Tri means 3, so there's 3 terms. Yeah? If you're looking at this, can you give me a number that you can divide each term by? 3. Each term is divisible by 3, so 3 is a fact. Okay? How about a letter? Is there a letter that's common in each one?
X.
X. And it's going to be 3x just to the power of 1 because the smallest one is x to the power of 1. Okay? If you had, let's say, x4 plus x2, right? Your common would be x2 because the smallest exponent is the 2. So you always look for the letter with the smallest exponent. Okay? So we know that 3 is a common number and x is the common letter. So that means 3x, we call this a common factor. Right? That means I can divide each term by 3x. You guys understand that? All right. So, the first question that you're always going to ask yourself, what is my common factor? Do I have a common factor? And what is it? Okay? So, we decided that the greatest common factor for this one is 3x. So, after we decide what our greatest common factor is, we divide each term by it. So this is what happens. Eyes on the board for a second, please. So you must write your greatest common factor first. So you're going to write your greatest common factor, and then you're going to open your bracket, and you're going to take each term, you're going to write it as is, and you're going to divide it by the common factor. Minus 15x squared, and divide by the common factor. Plus 3x, and divide by the common factor. Okay? So, you write your greatest common factor outside, open bracket, write each term, and divided by the greatest common factor. And this is what's going to happen. So I have my common factor outside. And then now I'm going to divide. What's 9x cubed divided by 3x? 3x squared, right? Because you have x cubed. X cubed means x times x times x, right? And then divided by x, so one of them is going to cancel, so you'll be left with 3x squared. Okay? So you always, what you technically do, eyes on the board for a second, please. So what you technically do is, you see that exponent, you subtract the exponent. So 3 minus 1 gives you 2. What would be my second term? 5x. Negative 5x? Yeah. And what would be my last term?
Why didn't raise to the minus 4, the negative 4?
The negative 4?
3 divided by 15x divided by 3. Why the answer 5 didn't raise to the negative 4?
Negative power?
Yeah.
Why would it be negative power? The top is bigger than the bottom, right? So 2 minus 1 gives me 1. Right? Not negative. If it's going to give you a negative exponent, that means you've done something wrong. Go back and check. Okay? It shouldn't give you a negative exponent. If you're thinking about negative exponent, right? Negative power. It should not. Okay? Now, what's 3x divided by 3x? 1. 1. Right? And this is where the common mistake. Students don't know what to do with this, and they don't write anything. It is actually plus 1. Because 3 divided by 3 gives me 1. X divided by x gives me 1. So that's a 1. Anything you divide by itself is 1. So, what's your greatest common factor here? what was your greatest common factor? 3x. And so this is how you're gonna write this. So, you see, I did not get rid of the 3x, it's still outside, right? I have to write it there. So you're gonna have your 3x, which is your greatest common factor. And then you're gonna have in brackets your leftovers. That's what I call them. Okay? So your GCF multiplied by your leftovers. You guys understand what GCF stands for? Greatest common factor, right? And then leftovers are whatever you divided your trinomial or your binomial or whatever it is after you divided them by the GCF. A lot of students omit that GCF, they won't write it after they divide by it, and this is where the mistake is. You're gonna lose marks if you don't include that, because now you're changing the equality. They're not equal anymore if you lose it. Okay? So, the first question you're gonna ask yourself, what is my, or do I have a common factor? And what is it? So, are you guys ready for the next one? 8x to the power of 4 minus 4x cubed plus 20x squared. What would be my greatest common factor? 4. Each one is divisible by 4. Yeah? Do I have a common? 4x squared. So look at your x's. This x to the power of 4, x to the power of 3, x to the power of 2. This is the smallest power, so I can divide by x squared. Okay? So my greatest common factor is 4x squared. Your number cannot be greater. Okay? It can't be 8, for example, because 4 is not divisible by 8. It's going to give you a fraction. Same as your power. It can't be bigger than your small. Now, I'm going to take it in bracket, and I'm going to divide each term by 4x squared. What happens when I divide 8x4 by 4x squared? What's 8 divided by 4? 2. What's x4 divided by x squared? X squared. Because 4 take away 2 is 2. Now, minus 4 divided by 4 is
1.
x cubed divided by x squared?
1. So x.
1x, right? Because 3 minus 2, that gives me to the power of 1. So that's x. What's 20 divided by 4? 5. What's x squared divided by x squared? 1. They cancel each other, right? So that means I'm left with 5. Okay? So I have my GCF, which is 4x squared, and I have my leftovers in the bracket. Okay? So this is what I want you to do. I want you to try B and C. Okay? And check with the person sitting next to you, and then come and check with me.